amateur team, of course. Once an amateur team, now with a professional organization.
In the
all
sense of being in
infrastructure.
playoffs, I use that term.
They are very much playoff debutantes, and that's what they look like, unfortunately, for the majority of that first game. And now it's all about settling. You saw their coach in the booth trying to calm everyone down. They need to just reset. There's a reason why they went 7-2 in the second round, Robin. They were very consistent. They were good at all points in the game. They've always been strongest early. They were good early in game one. Just move away with the problems that they came up with and try and play a more steady game of League of Legends.
Yep. You see, though, into the pick and ban. It's going to be GP, followed by Trundle and Lysandra, banned away by Afreeca Freecs. Last ban now going over to Jin Air, who have already taken away the Twisted Fate and the Rise. Do they ban the Graves here to get it away from Lyra? It's going to be Ferris.
No jungle bans.
This could be a first pick Graves for Lyra. I think you kind of have to go for that.
Now, he had the opportunity between Nidalee and Graves, but chose Graves, which was a surprise last series that we saw him play. I think Nidalee is also very much a consideration. It's going to be one of those two. His Kindred results haven't been that great. So, expecting one of those two for Lyra. Looking at, see if there's any other champions. Corki once again comes through, but Sivir remains probably the strongest champion in the league right now in patch 6.6. So I don't mind the lock-in. It's just pair if you're going to go for those fights. And the main issue was they kept trying to force engages with Sivir and Braum, I guess, as the follow-up. CC Sivir, Echo Sivir, Braum. Not much synergy in that scenario. Need more synergy if you're going to choose to find fights. I maintain they didn't even need to choose those fights. They could have just fought around objectives. They went hard for picks, didn't have the tools to do so, and were punished by Jin Air. Let's see what they do this game.
Yeah. Well, the Alistar was banned away before, now made available. If it makes it through that first round here from the side of Jin Air, could be snatched up by Afreeca. Azir, another thing that was banned away in that first game, now makes it through. Kuzan looking like he's going to lock it in. It will be locked in, as will be the Gravestor Winged. So have to assume that Lyra going to be going for that Nidalee.
I mean, the assumptions at this point can be pretty clear. It feels like Nidalee and LeBlanc are going to be coming in at some point in this draft. You have to feel like Mickey is going to want
J4 mid, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it's of course an assassin player playing an assassin champion, but Mickey's famous for one of his famous champions. Not one of his permabans, but famous champions is LeBlanc. Twisted Fate banned away, Rise banned away, Avaris banned away. So we're talking about the more deeper pool of Mickey. I don't want to see the Corki again. When the rest of his team is on form, okay, you can get away with the brain fades from Mickey once a game, but that wasn't the case in game one. That wasn't something you could take into consideration. So let's see something different on Mickey's side.
Well, it looks like it will just be the more obvious pickups here so far. Not going to show too much as far as their composition goes, as they snatch up the Nidalee to match up that pressure of Wings Graves, and then of course Alistar to match with the Sivir in the bot lane, so a little bit more engage, a little bit more follow-up there with the On the Hunt.
I would have liked a different draw. I would have liked maybe the Braum over Alistar, just because you already have Nidalee and Sivir, so any the Unbreakable and the amount of value that's going to get in a siege sense meant, just having that also on the same side as Nidalee is one less tool available to Jin Air. Yeah. But I would have really liked to see just a different emphasis on some of these picks on the side of Afreeca. They didn't have to pick up the Nidalee. You can understand why there's the potential that Jin Air could flex the Graves. But I would have liked to see the Maokai taking the same rotation. Sivir Maokai feels like probably the strongest single rotation of a draft. If you ever get Sivir Maokai as first picks on red side, you feel like you've basically won the lottery. So with Maokai available, I would have liked that, but it doesn't seem like there's a Maokai priority for Afreeca.
Well, the hovers are still coming in here from the side of Jin Air. It's going to be Braum and Lucian locked in, so Maokai available. We could just see the Maokai come through. The question, though, what is going to be this mid lane
Maokai LeBlanc would be an insane draft from Afreeca if they could pull it off.
LeBlanc could be it. Could be
well, you have Sivir.
Zed, perhaps.
Well, you have Sivir, so you do have that freedom to go for an assassin pick. Because you have the wave clear coming through from the AD carry. Maokai also has good backup wave clear, so LeBlanc would make sense there. Poppy is a champion that Ixu propelled him to his MVP streak, specifically in the middle of the season. But it's going to be an assassin for Mickey. The question is which one?
Yeah, could be the Zed, could be the Jarvan, or that LeBlanc as you've been touting. You never know. Looks like the long hover, though, so far on this Poppy could be locked in. Maokai still available. And, of course, the top lane going to be the last pick for Jin Air. Ooh, could be the Gragas pickup. This would give them much more AP, which would help enable the Zed, but actually a last-second flip. Going to be Lulu and Gragas, so now an abundance of AP coming in. The only AD threat going to be Songyun on the Sivir.
And while it really felt like it was going to be Assassin, part of that was, again, about out-of-the-game things. They tilted in game one. I thought it was going to be comfort for Mickey, and it's comfort in a different way. Lulu has been his most picked champion this season. This is patch 6.6, so Lulu has seen some more nerfs, specifically to her Whimsy and the movement speed available on that. This is another comp that Afreeca has been known to run, very reminiscent of, say, an SKT comp when we're talking about just a single damage threat in the AD carry role. Of course, heavy lifting from Italy as well. This is a comp they've shown they can play, so there's a semblance of comfort to it. It's different than I would have necessarily predicted, given the scenario and given how game one went.
Yeah, I quite would have liked to have seen the Assassin coming up from Mickey, but we will get his Lulu instead, and with this long hover over the Maokai, we'll finally be locked in, so we do get both of our team compositions, so it will be that Gragas versus Maokai up on the top side, Italy versus Graves in the jungle, Lulu, Azir, and then of course the Sivir Lucian with Alistar and Brawl.
And this is basically some very one-to-one team comps. There's a lot of parity between both the champions and the identities that every role has in this game. So the worry about that is that you're opting into a scenario where if things go even early, which is kind of suggested by the pick ban, you're going to opt into the late game, get into Jin Air's wheelhouse. Jin Air in the late game is still a very powerful team-fighting team, and it feels like they have the tools this game with the lower pressure. We don't have an Assassin. Okay, Nidalee is the strongest pressure jungler, but the CC in the lanes outside of Alistar is not necessarily the most reliable, so unless Lyra can really have a day out in the early game, it feels like you're opting into the late game, which Jin Air, much like CJ, will always gleefully accept.
Well, Lyra didn't look so hot in that first game. Made some moves early on that were relatively impactful, but then overall, I shouldn't blame it on Lyra. That was a little bit harsh. But overall, the decision-making by Afreeca is what unraveled that game for them. Lyra now on this Nidalee may be able to make some even more high-pressure ganks around that top and mid side, maybe even affect the bottom side of the map early on with this Nidalee pick. It's just going to be a question of, can Afreeca maintain their mental state and play as they have been in the last couple weeks? Can they play to form and not falter in these high pressure situations? We're going to find out as we get into game two, Afreeca versus Jin Air.
Everybody wants to rule the world. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands.
You see the fans still holding on here as they throw out their fighting champs for both sides. We get that nice sweeping view of Summoner's Rift yet again as it disappeared into a black void.
Well, Afreeca fans are going to be hoping their season doesn't disappear into a black void. I guess the one heartening thing for Afreeca is that maybe this series is going to be a best of three that's a metaphor for Afreeca's season. Starting off rough, starting off punished, and then just like their team comp, going from one extent, the game one comp, to this game two comp, which is Afreeca taking on a new identity. Mickey on more of a supportive mid laner, a comp where Ixu can really show the champion he innovated in top lane. Gragas, of course, not innovated in terms of ever in the meta, but really brought it back in the 2016 top lane meta. And it's more of a Songyun focused comp, because Songyun has been really the carry star next to Lyra this season. So if they can maybe pick that up in game two, and then go to the Twisted Fate in game three and just show us this evolution of Afreeca, because if not, it's going to be a quick one and done for Afreeca's first appearance in playoffs.
Yeah, which would be quite unfortunate. Hoping these guys can take us to game three, because the first game, albeit while a bit abysmal on the side of Afreeca, was still a bit entertaining, so I would like to see the continuation of this. Winged already though with an early roam up to this top side, not going to get spotted out, but just going to keep roaming through the jungle, so just hovering around that tri-brush.
So the reason why he was hanging around the tri-brush is that Jin Air have had the strategy of in lane swaps pushing up Graves or the jungler to the top lane as well. Snowflower's taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, a lot of damage indeed. No ignite though by Che. Is running with the exhaust, so Snowflower not going to go down quite just yet, but good aggression there by Jin Air's bot lane.
But yeah, Winged and Trace have been taking one camp and then going into lane, pushing it out just to give the push back the wave a little bit and set off the time of when it comes to the group pushes for the mirror turret taking the European lane swap. That's very famous. I think Jin Air is surprised to find standard lanes because this is another game where I think in this game Afreeca were very heavily benefited from going for a lane swap. The reason why I say that is that it's a double teleport game. So Mickey and Ixu, they're running double teleport against a single teleport. If the Rocks Tigers have shown us one thing, it's if you get the lane swap when you want it, get those two turrets down, put down the deep wards with a teleport advantage, all Azir can do is wave clear in mid. You can make those picks around the map, you can get the snowball in the mid game, and that's literally the way that Jin Air has lost series after series. It's against, whether it's against the Rocks Tigers or teams aping that double teleport play, that's the one play style that Jin Air have had no answer to. It's one of the main reasons why their second half of the split has been so rough. Afreeca, in a game where they're really set up to go for the lane swap, don't opt to it, so they just go for standard lanes again, which throws off those times when you can go for those big teleport plays.
Yeah, we can see already how devastating that is. Those standard lanes in the bot side of Snowflower took all of that damage in the early trade, almost lost his life. Is able to sustain up though. He is an Alistar after all, Triumphant Roar, not nerfed on the heal to himself. So he sustains back up and help with the Relic Shield as well.
I mean, that nerf, I can understand why they did it, but so much of the power is around the effect coming through from the Wind Speaker's Blessing, which you can see on your screen has been the Keystone Mastery taken, that it almost felt like the Mastery forced the heal percentage change, a lot like Rage Blade and the interaction with certain champions. So while I'm not a big fan of that nerfing style, it doesn't really change his power level too much just because the Mastery is so strong.
Yeah. See though, recalls coming out for both of these mid laners. Mickey, however, with the teleport, is able to arrive back in the lane and crash the wave into the tower. Lane is there to catch it, however, so CS not going to go completely to waste. See though, pretty even between these two. Double Doran's going to be coming out. Boots for the side of Mickey, and then a dagger for Fuzon. So going to be looking for that stinger early on to go into that Gnasher's Tooth to become as powerfully annoying as possible.
This is interesting. So Afreeca's done this 2 games in a row. They've ended laning phase after the first shop. So it's almost like a delayed lane swap where they know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to trade turrets. I'm very intrigued as to why they do this, even when the laning matchup against Lucian's not ideal. It does allow for these sort of teleports where you can be a little greedier because you know the jungler won't be in position to kill you straight away. But speaking of junglers, he is here now.
Yep, this is going to be Winged coming down, but still not sure if they want to go in for any kind of real aggressive play. Ixu going to be holding on as long as he possibly can. A little ways away from that level 6 mark. So not going to have the explosive cast quite just yet. You can see he is getting shoved off of the tower.
So the only reason I can think that Afreeca do this is that they had a vision that Trace teleported to buy a second Doran's in both games. So he has no teleport. Didn't have it in game 1 when they did this, didn't have it in game 2. So maybe they feel like they can get the advantage with the turret push, and they did memorably in game 1 through picking up the Rift Herald, get a big advantage in turret gold through a play like this. It's just in this game, felt like Jin Air called the bluff, Graves is in position to push the turret, and they don't get the same sort of benefit after already taking a really bad early trade, as you mentioned.
Yep. See though, tower is going to fall here on both sides. See what kind of moves these guys want to make after the turrets fall. Don't think we're going to see any pushes onward for tier 2s. Like
Rift Herald.
Rift Herald.
Rift Herald's a big pickup for Afreeca. Once again, it's Sivir comp. So Sivir with Rift Herald or Nidalee riding the Rift Herald next to a Sivir means they once again will have threat onto the inner turret. So maybe just tracking and just completing the logic of what we've been talked about. Maybe this is a Rift Herald-centric strategy where it's going for those standard lanes or just always guaranteeing that whatever the swap scenario, even if I have to commit teleport for it, I want to ensure that we pick up the Rift Herald, and then we'll pick up the next time we see a turret trade, we'll get the advantage through.
Yep.
Rift Herald went from being a joke objective at the start of the season to being really central to a lot of trades, just because it allows you to trade up. You get that inner turret so much faster when you have a champion like Sivir in the meta with instant wave clear and then great turret damage.
Yep. So nice moves here from Afreeca so far. The Dragon not able to be answered by Jin Air. So just a little bit slower behind when it comes to these global objectives. So now we can see that is going to be Song Yun up at the top side of the map, clearing out those waves with the Rift Herald buff. Coming in on the recall, we'll see where he wants to go next.
It's just been really fun. You know, obviously, there's been a lot of community criticism about level 1s, about lane swaps. Some of it I understand. A standard lane swap in every game is not very exciting. I feel like lane swaps have that potential for strategic diversity, but sometimes when they just become regular, can just be boring. But
Sure.
it's the evolutions we've seen in Champions. For example, Jinair's evolution of having their jungler take Krugs and enter lane to start pushing it up and turning off timers. That's interesting. Seeing Afreeca go for standard lanes twice and then swap after the first purchase, just focus on, as far as we can tell, Rift Herald, and get the benefit of a ranged jungler and Sivir with Rift Herald. That's interesting as well. So it's just really nice to see these little gaps, because it's the sort of thing that teams around the world will take time to unpack and work out, is this the new strategy? Does this beat what was the old strategy? And you know, on the side of one game with incomplete information, we don't know the answer, but it is intriguing to track.
Yeah. It comes down to what is the viewer's cup of tea at the end of the day.
What's your cup of tea, Achilles?
My cup of tea is entertaining League of Legends, whether it's because it's highly strategic or because it's a complete mess of a bloodbath. Does not matter much to me as long as it's high performance League of Legends at the end of the day, which is why we're here in Korea, Papa Smithy.
We don't really see too many of the clown fiestas that we're hoping for, though.
Occasionally we do.
We do. They're quite spectacular when they happen.
Yeah, when they happen, they're rare treats, but my God, are they treats all the same.
Speaking of treats, this is one of the things you can do with the Rift Herald.
Yeah, we can see Wing taking a lot of damage as they get some nice pressure down onto this mid tower. Just taken down to about half HP.
So to me, the KR Clown Fiesta is a bit like when a show like Futurama or a comedy does really sad episodes. Like, you remember Jurassic Park, of course, the episode with the dog.
Oh, the dog.
Because you're not ready for the Clown Fiesta, when it comes, you're just hit by it so much more. It really resonates with you because you haven't prepared yourself for what unfolds.
Yeah. We also just get those fun games where you know exactly what's going to happen, but it's still entertaining, like SK Telecom versus Spenu from last week. There was 25-2 or something by the end of that one. The near 3 pentakills from Bang finally gets one in the end. The wonderful saves by Wolf on that Tom Kench. Those games are just wonderful in their own right. But at the same time, you do have to be able to appreciate a long game of League of Legends where everybody's playing strategically perfectly. It's like watching chess. It's like if you're the kind of person that can watch a chess match and not be bored by it, then you're the kind of guy that can watch a lane swap heavy League of Legends game.
Well, I don't know if that's exactly the audience Riot's going for. I feel like the chess live audience isn't the biggest.
It's not. I'm just saying that they're similar in that regard.
Definitely feels like some of these Champions games are a bit like other sports. Like, I guess like Premier League, like soccer, where you can have a lot of rising action before you finally see a big play.
Uh-oh, Snowflower flashes the wall but ends up in the Dragon
Well,
pit.
he definitely outfoxed them.
Yeah, in the end he did. It was looking really
that went
bad
better
for
than
a second.
expected.
I thought that was going to be the first blood.
To be fair, he probably wasn't sure he could get over the thick wall, so went a bit more guaranteed.
He mind gamed him. Push coming in on this side yet again, but who's on? Sand Soldiers, a lot of wave clear coming out there, so not going to be able to get too much more damage in. Ixu getting out traded by Trace up in that top side, as to be expected, has the Spectre's Cowl as well as the Sap Magic passive, so Maokai will forever and always come out on top of those trades. Meanwhile, down here by the Dragon, yet again, Jinair going to start this one up. No one from Afreeca Freecs nearby to match this, so this is going to be first Dragon going over them. 11.5-minute mark, just about for free.
Well, after Afreeca packed up their bags and headed to the top to pick up the Rift Herald and the turret, they basically lost all control over Dragon. They're probably happy that the Dragon took this long, and they would have expected an 8-minute answering Dragon, so 11:30 at least sets that timer a little bit later, so no big concern from Afreeca on that side.
Yep, but now we can see Jinair posturing up around this tier 2 in the bot side, and Afreeca not really in a position to start hard shoving onto the tier 2 in the top. Trace is hovering around there, but has to ward his flank, try to stay safe. Mickey, in the meantime, getting engaged on Kuzan. Gets the Empress Divide. Glacial Fissure not going to connect as Mickey does flash away, but that's going to be a mid tier 1 going down. Mickey clear this one out. Glitterland's going to get cut short, but he actually will be able to hold on.
Two members roaming in as well.
Yeah, Cass gets thrown out. Kuzan has to dash to safety. Here comes Snowflower. The Pulverize not going to connect, however. Kuzan getting slowed up by the Glitterland. One more hit'll do it. Can he go down? He does. Picked up by Lyra. First blood over to Afreeca.
A lot of wave clear loss, so maybe Afreeca will finally get this mid lane turret they've tried to prep for multiple times. Culling's available.
Yeah, Culling's there, the body blocking it, however, so they will be able to force up and take down the tower. Nice moves here by Afreeca. But we saw similar performances in the first game, and then it went a little bit south, so just going to have to keep this up and maintain this momentum and level of shot calling if they want to find success.
And they got a second Rift Herald, and then it was basically all a wash from there if you're a Afreeca fan. That's where you stop the first game VOD if you're tuning in live as a Afreeca fan. Second Rift Herald, everything else, oh boy, not so good, but you're going to head towards at least in this game. But good ordered play. Again, the first 12 minutes had a lot of order to it. I like what Afreeca's been doing. It's interesting to track their lane swaps and the way they've done that. That's definitely something different we haven't seen before in Champions, but otherwise makes pretty much straightforward sense.
Yep, and that's going to be flash and heal down for Kuzan. Could be a very visitable gank or pick off here from the side of Afreeca if they can find pressure onto him. Meanwhile, of course, they held on to both the mid-tier 1 and the tier 2 in the bottom side as Jin Air had rotated up to try to get that.
So while we have a bit of time, one of the small things I want to talk about is, we were talking a bit about Gragas jungle in the first draft, and I was mentioning probably not going to see that. And in general, the only jungle that itemizes tank that we've seen is Elise, and I guess to a lesser extent a little bit of Lee Sin. The big thing that I've noticed, and one of the big reasons why champions like Gragas have been forced out of the jungle, is that it feels like the jungle carries. We're mainly talking about, well, speaking of jungle carries, not going to be caught out, but the jungle carries, you see them on your screen. Champions like Nidalee, but specifically Graves and Kindred. The thing they can do is that on a jungle income, they can provide near the same amount of tankiness, and that's a lot from their kits, things like the Lamb's Respite and the quick draw, rather than necessarily the items, but they just generally have innately the same amount of tankiness on that lower jungle income, but can just do so much more damage than the tanks. And they also, when we do see these lanes, we do see the Rift Herald plays have ranged auto attacks to take down the target. So ranged junglers.
Oh, nice steal away by Wing.
Really nice.
That was gorgeous.
Did he have any vision?
Yeah, he had one ward in the pit that he dropped.
Well,
steals it away. Lyra just getting too greedy, holding onto the smite. The buff will just wither away to waste, but all the same, gold goes over to Jin Air. That was nicely played.
Sometimes not your day, Achilles.
It is certainly not looking like, I can't say that. As far as game 1 and then that event right there, not looking like Afreeca's day, but they did make some moves here. That's a little bit of a hiccup, and now Ixu, though, that bad spot gets slowed up and the blind finishes him off, so now I guess I can say, yeah, it's not looking like Afreeca's day.
Well, the game could change, but sloppy. They didn't clear out the ward, or in that second, they just didn't respect the damage. You can always stop the DPSing.
Always use the smite.
Always use the smite. Well, greed is good sometimes, but hasn't been in this game. But yeah, the jungle carries. They do their job. They have some tankiness, but they do a lot more damage. And the ranged junglers, they have safe clears. Graves, for example, takes no damage in the turrets, and then have safe turret taking. And then tank top's got itemization buffs.
Look at this. Trace TP'd in to this bottom side, trying to cut him off on the hunt, gets popped, however. It looks like Afreeca going to be able to back off safely. Still Trace hovering around above them, but in the end, going to go ahead and heal back. No dragon coming up for a minute and a half, so that's going to be a TP down and double advantage over to Afreeca now.
And all those top lane carries we remember were nerfed. That's the other thing. That's the other part of the puzzles. That Quinn was nerfed, Gangplank was nerfed, Fiora was nerfed, and two of those champions not to be seen. Gangplank now more of a flex mid laner, but it just feels like, with the direct nerfs to anti-tank champions, the buffs to tanks, Maokai's buffs, Titanic Hydra getting nerfed, it just makes so much more sense itemization-wise to put your tank in the top line and just go for AD everywhere else. Is Ixu just caught out.
Yep. Not much else to say about it. Gets slowed up just enough to get caught by the end of the line. Went down for it, so 1-1, of course, on the scoreboard. Second dragon yet to come up. We'll see that one in about 30 seconds. And the wet noodle fight begins, the bot side.
Yeah, one Spirit Visage completed. No killing of Gragas from magic damage dealers with his constant sustain. A lot of turrets down for Afreeca. They're pinging on to the mid lane in a turret.
No, this would be a very greedy play, of course, calling available for Pilot as well as the wave clear from Kuzan. This would be a little bit difficult to pressure out for that. I don't think it's going to be
Afreeca have really good control around the bot side of the map. Now they look like they're going to give up mid lane turret, but they're going for a dive.
Trace, twisted advance,
Oh,
nice
ho, ho.
flash, cheeky play by
Very
Trace.
nice.
Hops himself to the other side of the Alistar and will avoid that gank.
Dragons just spawned. Afreeca are 5-man.
But they are, and Afreeca getting pinched on from above.
Surround the same part of the map where a lot of their dreams were dashed in game 1. Once again, they have very low initiation. Sivir ult, but unless it's the picture-perfect game plan, so Gragas barrel, then they're really not going to find much.
Yeah, Dragon taking a lot of damage. Spear not going to steal it. Will be the spike confirmed from Winged. Snowflower goes in, only gets to pop up on the Trace. Don't think they want to follow up on that one. The Alistar still weakened. Even for having the ultimate available, you can see that's just going to be Jin Air sweeping up toward this mid-tier 1. Ixu coming forward, going to try to clear this wave as best as he can. Might have to throw out the barrel, but this turret's just way too damn low. It's going to go down all the same.
It's so low, no way to salvage it. There's the answering turret. Game is basically completely even now, as Mickey with some free time might finally get this outer bot lane turret. Don't know what health it's at.
No, it's not going to happen. Who's on the roam down? We'll be able to keep that one alive, but meanwhile, Jin Air just continuing to rotate around the map. TP comes through from Ixu. This is a little bit interesting. They're going to try to pinch. It's a 4v3 right now as the Alistar's not there. Mickey's still hot on the heels of the rest of his team. They get on the Traces, they slow him up, throws down the eventual Maelstrom. They get a bit of damage, but he's still a very tanky Maokai. Twisted advances over onto Mickey, trying to run out of here. Gets caught by the Glitter Lance. He should be going down. Sap Magic not going to do enough to keep him alive. Looks like Lyra going to be able to take away the kill. So TP burned out to pick up that one. They hold on to the tier 1 on the top side as well, and now we'll be able to take away a little bit of the jungle here on the top side of Jin Air.
It's actually a really smart move from Afreeca. Oh,
here's Winged. They're just pinching around the backside of this tower as it gets whittled down. Half HP at the moment. So they have the damage to finish it off. Looks like they very well may. Collateral damage gets thrown out, trying to dissuade them. They will peel back. Tower just barely standing.
let's talk about what Afreeca did. The moment they saw Kuzan respond in bot to Mickey, they realized he's got no teleport. We have double teleport. They instantly rotated top, both Ixu and Mickey using their teleport. Get the kill onto Trace, take a turret, almost completely DPS down the inner turret. Very nice rotation, the sort of thing you can do when you have that double TP.
To kill this.
They do.
Sure about that?
Oh. I thought you meant from the enemy.
Oh, no. I meant because he had to go evolve, Papa.
He did. As Ixu's got double Spectre's Cal, so he's got that going for him.
Okay. Sure.
The stats it provides, obviously, are still there, but you do not get the doubling up of the health regen.
Yeah, not going to help you out a whole lot, so I think you probably should have just went for the Spirit Visage instead. To each their own.
Immediate power sometimes is what you need, though.
This is true at times. Ixu getting pinched on now on the top side as Che, Winged, and the rest of the team are going to be coming around. Finally finish off that tower, but Mickey going to answer this one with the bot tier 1 as well.
This time Jin Air have the 5-man advantage. Afreeca doesn't have teleport on either of their solo laners.
Yep, this will be a turret complete equalization though, however, between these two teams, and a very slight lead still being held by Afreeca. This is where it starts getting scary for both of these teams, because these fights are going to be that much more impactful, especially now with Baron on the map. Could be a very easy pickup if you lose a couple members of your team.
Afreeca, if they want to win, really need to get ward control over objectives. We talked about it both in Game 1 and Game 2. Their initiation is very poor. It's just really the Gragas barrel and maybe the hopeful engage from Snowflower when on the hunt is popped. So much better kiting back towards an objective rather than looking for a pick, which is the one strategy that they couldn't do in Game 1 that they repeatedly went for and cost them the game.
Not making the same mistakes here.
Not so far.
Not so far. We won't put a pin in that one quite just yet. Might have to come back to it, especially with third dragon spawning in about 2 minutes. It'll be third for Jin Air's, first for the side of Afreeca, who are certainly going to want to pick up that 6% buff at this point and stop the onward press of Jin Air toward that 5th dragon.
Afreeca honestly are waiting for their double teleports to be up and an objective to fight around. They can return and see if they can get another bad lane assignment and trade up in objectives like they did in top lane when they found Kuzan and bot.
Well, double TP is going to come in about 30 seconds or so here. Mickey's trailing very slightly behind Ixus, as they should be able to finish off this tower. All you really need to do is stick Ixu or Snowflower under it for a couple seconds. Have 2 auto attacks come out from Songyun, but still going to play it safe and not push in too far forward. Don't want to get caught by that Emperor's Divide from Kuzan.
See if they send someone to the bot lane. It's now starting to push out for Jin Air. Trace is already channeling and cancelling his recall.
Looks like we're just going to have some tiptoeing so far up into this top side as Afreeca do look for that opening. A couple wards in behind them. Trace wants to TP, looks like the fight might just break out on the front lines though, as Nomara gets engaged on. Glacial Fissure comes out from Jay. Trace taking up the brunt of the damage, still very healthy on the Maokai. These guys are going to back off. Ixu pushing forward, trying to get the tower. One more hit will do it, but it's still standing, and Snowflower taking a lot of damage. Cast thrown out to try to disengage the team. Collateral damage as well goes out. There's a smattering of damage, but not going to be able to find any kills. And the tier 1 stands with 35 HP in the end.
There's no way for Siva to walk up when you have a short range comp, only Nidalee and Siva. I guess that's Mickey as well, but all champions kind of focusing on peeling back, really worried about an engage. It's not safe enough to pick up that auto attack, so they don't take down the structure. And the difference between a structure living and dying, especially in the 2016 patch, where turret gold is so high, is massive.
Yep. They're just stopping the back there of Shay. Dragon spawn, trying to delay them as much as possible from getting over to this objective. The rest of Afreeca have backed off and healed. Jay going to be late to the party, so this should be a dragon pickup here for the side of Afreeca.
The first dragon also, big pickup for them.
Yeah, you can see exiting as a team, it should seem. Now, well, they kind of split off, but no pinch coming in from Jin Air. I thought maybe we would have a repeat of that first game, but they do get out successfully this time.
Saw dollar signs in his eyes with that massive group minion wave.
Oh boy! Advance on the Lyra, gets locked down, taking a lot of damage from Kuzan, has to flash out. Ixu and Snowflower here to follow up. No Owlstar ultimate available quite just yet. This could be a little bit of an opening for Jin Air to pressure in onto this tier 2.
Songyun's still healthy though, he's the main wave clear, and
That is
there
very
as
true.
well. Mickey as well, sorry.
Has completed the static shiv with the Essence Reavers. Will be doing a lot of damage to these minions. You can see the waves just melting out from the Ricochet. So they will be able to hold on to that one. Sand Tower goes up, but Jin Air not going to be able to stick around underneath it.
Let's see if Afreeca can play the map as smartly as they did 5 minutes ago.
Blue buff being taken away.
Goes to Wing, that's to Kuzan, sorry.
Kuzan didn't pick it up. The vision control comes out on the side of Jin Air. Baron. Meanwhile, Mickey applying some split pressure, of course, does still have the teleport available, so just going to be coming up on that bot side, trying to work those waves into the tier 2 tower and have them whittle away at it as much as they possibly can. So far, pretty smart by Afreeca, not losing really anything off of the backside of that dragon.
What can they get out of the teleport? First trade was easy. Now when we're talking about getting inner turrets or inhibitor turrets, much harder to split push those away. Maokai was able to itemize so naturally into Spirit Visage because against double AP laners that he'll take no trade damage, so the moment that Maokai enters lane, no real point for Lulu to be there.
He's also that much more sustained in these elongated team fights from his passive.
Grasp of the Undying, Spirit Visage, Sap Magic, Maokai. This is the meta we live in, Achilleos.
It's filthy. And they gave him scaling MR.
Yay!
Thank you. Balanced team. Oh, Maokai is just a monster.
It's just crazy. In Champions, we saw so much Maokai just the week before the changes went live, and then we knew exactly what would happen the moment they gave him that little love tap, a little buff.
I'm still surprised we haven't seen Maokai support really coming out in professional play.
I mean, he just fits the top lane meta so well as well.
He does, but I feel like he could become that flex pick that you sometimes see with Trundle if there's like a Poppy.
But if there's no tank busters, why do you need to flex them?
True.
Even Trundle, you just buy a QSS and you're okay. When the answers come out, the flexes will start.
Well, very much awaiting with bated breath here. Ixu gonna get that slow from the barrel onto Trace.
This will take a while.
Yeah, don't think he's going to be able to get out of this one. Has the TP, but of course, too many displacements. But actually, he's still alive, and the rest of the team is collapsing. Will he fall in the end? He does. Ixu finds the kill. Glacial Fissure comes down there from Jay. Ixu going to get locked up. No mana, throws out the barrel. Wildcard will keep him alive for the time being. And it looks like that might just be the disengage from Afreeca. Only have to commit one teleport. They can get Trace in the end.
But what more do they get, Achilles? The moment they have to use
They got a blue buff.
They got a blue buff.
All right, now it's worth.
Point taken, but the moment they have to commit Wild Growth defensively onto Lyra, they have no way of CCing any more members. So they're never going to get more than just a single pick.
Look at Mickey's build. I like this. So, seeing instead of the Lich Bane coming out as the second item after the Frost Queen's Climb, going straight for the Luden's Echo.
That means that they have just the world's most wave clear possible. I'm not really a big fan of the build. Obviously, both items give movement speed. I feel like Lich Bane is a bit more flexible. It has more turret pressure. But wave clear is what you want. Boy, do we have plenty of it on the side of Afreeca. Even Gragas pretty good for a top lane tank, really, with wave clear.
Yeah. I like that he finished the Sunfire cape and is now building the Glacial Shroud instead of completing anything with the Spirit Visage.
You mean with his
Like a Spirit
Spectres?
Visage? Yeah.
Look, losing out on HP regen is not the biggest deal. The slot efficiency of having health and magic resist in one slot is fine, but it just looks yucky, doesn't it?
Yeah. You never want to see, it's always interesting to see those doubled up items.
So why do you put yourself in that position where the chat can be like, WTF, 2 visages? And, you know, you kind of have to wear it on your, you have to be like, yeah, I do have two cows, sorry.
Yeah. I had a moment like that last night. I was playing solo queue, and my team was really far ahead. I didn't know what the hell was happening, and all of a sudden I looked at the scoreboard, and enemy Darius was 0 and 19, and it had nothing but get every single type of boot possible.
Really?
And that's just all. He just tilted off the face of the earth, apparently, and said, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to go fast, but not that fast.
I'm sad. It reminds me of the days where 2 boots singed was actually a thin when you get Merc Treads and Ninja Tabi, just for the passive on the Ninja Tabi.
Just for the hell of being annoying.
I mean, that's actually a pretty good item build when it came to early power.
Oh no, it is, but it's hella annoying.
Well, now that Ninja Tabi is super expensive, it's not so good.
Yeah, not really. Don't see that one almost at all. Especially ever since they made Merc Treads that much more desirable as an item.
We don't see 2 boots, and we don't see no boots from AD carries very much either.
Yeah, I don't even know the last time I can really think of seeing a no boots AD carry. It was actually probably Piglet North America before I came out to Champions on his Lucian. Would do the Phantom Dancer as his last item.
All the swords build, double Phantom Dancer and Infinity Edge in the lane.
Get those too sometimes.
It's harder to get.
Oh, Zephyr those days.
Exactly, the Zephyr being gone, which gave you the tenacity as well. 10% movement speed was enough to kind of make up for at least the boots one.
Sure, Mike.
Now, a bit more tricky to put it together.
What is tricky though is going to be this next dragon coming up would be 3rd again for Jin Air, 2nd for Afreeca as they did pick up the last one. Jin Air in a much better position. Start this one up, already down to half HP. Can Afreeca find it on the hunt? Still not popped. They go in for it. It's going to be the smite away by Winged. Afreeca go for a fighter that he just back off. Looks like it's going to be the ladder. Pilot going forward, throws out the culling. Song Yoon going to eat a little bit of damage. Uses that spell shield to mitigate some as well. And Afreeca just going to push up into this tier 2 in the mid side. Still have to show a lot of respect as TP's coming in from Trace. Flash forward by Che, throws out the Glacial Fissure, cutting him off. Song gets rooted down in the backside. Well, Wildcard comes out onto him immediately, but he's taking so much damage. Will get locked up, and he gets blown up by the collateral damage. Wing finding the kill, looking like he might go down, but no one can follow up here. Snowflower, the only one playing forward, gonna have to go on a suicide mission as he walks back in, trying to distract Jin Air from the rest of his team, but it doesn't look like it's working. Lyra getting chased on. Can Trace find it? Flashes forward. That's going to be the route coming through, and that's going to be a kill for Pilot. 3 members going down on the side of Afreeca and losing the Dragon, and now looking like the Baron as well. Jin Air are taking control of this game at last.
Afreeca Freecs made once again a mistake that was very reminiscent of their first round robin and the sort of thing they weren't doing in the second round robin. Their play around Dragon has been what has cost them. We talked about how that fatal engage happened outside, I believe it was second Dragon in game 1, and their play around this Dragon in a couple of ways didn't make sense. So we're going to see the replay. Before this even happened, Afreeca, they realized they don't have initiation, just take the turret. and move down the mid lane. They don't do that, and then they split. The tank line is in mid lane. Sivir and Lulu are the only ones. Sungyun overstays, has to flash over the ridge to the Raptor camp, and then is just left alone as the first person to deny it. The tank lane is full. The tank line is full health in the middle of mid lane, and the carries are both next to the Raptor camp. That should never ever happen, but they split away. Again, just rewind back to the Dragon fight. We don't have initiation. We have Sivir ult. We have excellent turret damage. Just Sivir ult down the mid lane. Take the inner turret as a trade for Dragon. Instead, you overextend trying to get that damage. Teleport comes in, team panics. Tank line splits away from the carries, and this is the result.
Yeah. Rough stuff, and it looks like this could be the unraveling of Afreeca like we saw in the first game. This time just about 17 minutes later than we saw it the first time. But now, Baron buff in tow, evening up the gold score here is Jin Air and pushing in for this tier 2 in the mid side. Can't quite get in range though, still have a very strong wave clear on the side of Afreeca. Songyun, look at that damage coming through, almost gets the concussive blows popped onto him, which almost certainly would have been his death. Will be able to get out alive, however. Wildcard's still available, but we can see Jin Air able to just stick around, have that wave building up in the top side and the bottom side as well. Slow pushing toward the base of Afreeca.
See Jin Air step up. They're definitely get a lot of turret damage.
Yeah, just have to let this
Easy
go.
in that turret. Yeah. Another reason why I don't like this build from the Luden's Echo is that while the wave clear is accentuated when you are against regular minions, against Baron buff minions, it provides nothing. Sivir obviously doing her best to clear them out, but really little that even this massive wave clear team can do against this push.
Yeah, and this is just going to be another tier 2 going down. Lyra having to back off on Mana Tower Falls. It's already 2 picked up here by Jin Air as they finally acquire a gold lead for themselves. In complete control of this game at the moment, just about 2,000 up above Afreeca with those 2 dragons as well.
And this game has definitely been played at a different pace to game 1, but while it took a catastrophic mistake from Afreeca for Jin Air to really push ahead, it's worth noting that it was only the single mistake from Afreeca. They've actually been really on the ball.
Yeah.
The first 30 minutes.
But that's a game we play right now, Papa Smithy. It's that one mistake can cost you everything.
It is, without a doubt, the state of League of Legends when the death timers are so long at 30 minutes, but it was a big mistake. They made big mistakes in game 1, but it was on the back of lots of little mistakes. But sometimes you get away with little mistakes and get back into games. Rox Tigers, for example, have played over-aggressively. We've seen Rox Tigers get double killed at level 1 in the 2v2 lane and come back in the mid-game. But when you make those big or middle-sized mistakes in the mid-game, game changes quickly.
So though Baron buff has expired, but Grace doesn't care. He says, I'm a tanky Maokai. We'll eat a couple of those tower shots as they get some more finalizing damage in onto this tier 2, the last tier 2 standing for Afreeca. Jin Air more than happy to just stick around, whittle away at this one, it seems. Still do have to be careful though. Afreeca, like you said, have only really made the one mistake and still have a lot of potential to come back into this game as the gold separating them is really just a difference in turrets at this point.
But when they're sieging with Baron buff, do they really have that much to respect from Afreeca's initiation? Like, there is a scenario where double TP, Gragas gets into the back line, but I just don't know if that's enough to really take down any members. They have dashes on all their carries, so even if
You need a big pick, a really big pick and a big advantage.
when it's a 5-man siege, it's so hard to get instant deletion damage because that's just not something Afreeca's comp does. They don't have sheer single target damage. They have good AoE damage, and Lyra does some decent burst damage on a single target, but deletion damage is not something they have in spades.
Yeah. Dragon though, getting ready to come up in 20 seconds, and this is going to be one that Afreeca wants to contest for. 4th Dragon over to Jin Air would be quite strong for them. Reduction on the tower damage as well. That's just that much closer to the 5th Dragon.
Afreeca don't really have the wards set up around it. They have double teleport and only one of their teleports in base. Makes sense, you can't really have people this late in the game all teleport in one by one.
Doesn't have, he's going to have to go to the blue buff, and he will be going ahead of channeling on that. They have vision of him,
Let's
so
wait for the
Ixu
cask.
going to be all by himself. Can he find an opening? Dragon started up here by Jin Air. taking a little bit of damage. Might just come down to a smite war between Winged and Lyra. Throws out that javelin, does connect onto the Graves. Gives him a little bit of damage. Chunk him out. Dragon's still sticking around.
That's Alistair looking for the flank. You can't afford to have too much of their front line on the sidelines. We've already seen what happens for frequent team fights if that occurs.
Yep. Shay, though, is chunked out quite a little bit, so as much as they can whittle off of this front line of Jin Air, it's going to profit Afreeca quite nicely.
Really nice. Big minion wave pushing in top.
Yeah, Dragon quite low. Wing's not there to confirm this one, so Lyra will be able to take it away. The collateral damage comes through, but it's not enough to steal. Glacial Fissure as well, going to whiff. And on the hunt gets popping, Afreeca should be able to successfully disengage, so a nice back and forth nets them their second Dragon.
Yeah, Afreeca made the clear call to rush it down the moment they saw Winged was the person sent down to bot to push.
Thank God they did not do what they did in game one.
No, it's just a really good call. The thing about Jin Air is they had a massive wave pushing in top. They thought, okay, if we have enough time, we can potentially just push our bot, have 3 waves pushing, and then we're happy for this stalemate to continue around Dragon. No, Afreeca made the decisive call. Good for them to see. An answering Dragon, it delays the 4th Dragon spike, and just means that we're probably going to get this game pushing comfortably into the 40-minute mark.
Which has to be worrisome for Afreeca because that's Jin Air territory.
It's become more and more welcome for Afreeca, but it definitely is Jin Air's most comfortable time in the game, and it's a game where Jin Air is ahead or even. You know, even or ahead is always the mantra for these late game teams, and certainly Jin Air are in that scenario. Feels like Winged on the Graves would just be so much more reliable team fighting in the late game with items like more Mount Mortius, and now the Bloodthirsters. So this is actually Lyra's build. A lot of these AD carries have, after the latest round of nerfs to Steric's Gauge, been skipping and going for things like Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster, other items give inherent tankiness, but not necessarily the overshield that comes from the Steric's Gauge. But Nidalee team fighting, even with Rylai's, can be unreliable. So it'll be interesting to see if Afreeca, with, again, unreliable elements, can Gragas get the massive ult and just decide a team fight, or will it just be a less effective Maokai? Will Nidalee get the spear, get an assassination, or will she just be a less effective late game team fighting Graves? And Azir versus Lulu is another matchup where you feel like the utility.
Trace pitching in from below. Snowflower already chunked out on the hunt, gets popped, and they say, you know what, we just have to go for it.
Trace is completely separated.
For the pop-up, Shay gonna take a little bit of damage, and now Trace on the backside goes in, finds Mickey and roots him down. Wildcard comes out immediately, and Snowflower looking like he's gonna fall, and he does. Pilot finding the kill, and Songyun not able to do anything to this front line of Jin Air. They're just too damn tanky, and continuing on the advance. Songyun taking a ton of damage. The flash forward gets locked up, and he's gonna go down. Pilot finishing him off with the red buff. That's 2 massive pickups here for Jin Air, and should net them this Baron yet again. We see the TP coming in from Trace. He's going to be able to take it up. It's reliant on a miracle steal from Afreeca, and there's no one nearby. Just going to give this one up. This is not looking good if you were the Freaks.
Helios, the moment that Jin Air and Afreeca actually committed to fighting, there was no ult on the Alistair, so it wasn't really a frontline. Alistair just died instantly, not tanky, level 12, no ultimate. And Ixu, as a sole frontliner, can just pale in comparison compared to Maokai, Graves, and Braum. The difference in frontlines meant that everyone just carved like butter on the side of Afreeca. We're going to see the replay. So Snowfire has to pop his ult super early, and by the time Trace actually breaks into the front line and initiates, Snowfire just dies. It's only Gragas as a frontliner, and all the carries on the side of Jin Air can move up, free hit. No one's doing damage to Kuzan, no one's doing damage to Pilot, and just the nature of Graves, he does function as a hybrid frontline tank and does plenty of burst damage too.
Yep. Wonderfully played there by Jin Air. A little bit questionable by Afreeca, moving up the lane instead of trying to disengage downward towards Trace.
I really like them moving up because Trace was so stuck. He was so slow, didn't have the home guard buff. You find a fight, get a kill, and maybe just the tank Maokai is the last person to die slowly. It's just Snowflower used his ult for no reward on an initiation. They didn't have clear targeting. They didn't get anything out of it, and by the time Maokai broke, their front line was done.
Well, with that Baron pickup and the onward present Jin Air, it's looking like this series might in fact be done as well. On the hunt gets popped.
Graves
can't not get there. Ixu going forward, trying to find Pilot. Knocks him away from the team, however, and they find Shay. Ixu just getting locked up. The Wild Growth has to be used on the Gragas, and he might still fall for it all the same, and he does. Pilot picking up the kill. Snowflower in the front side. Alistar ultimate there. Goes in, gets a nice 2-man pulverize, but he's still all on his lonesome, left on an island to die. the Jack Sparrow of Afreeca, but this time he actually does go down, and Pilot finds himself another kill. 6-0-1 on this Lucian. Pilot says, you know what? No Ginsu's Rage Blade Ash. I'm going to play my Lucian, and I'm going to do it damn well.
Jin Air are going to the next round of playoffs, Achilles. It's all but inked on the piece of paper. They just won a 4v5 with no appearance, not even a downtown collateral damage from Wing. They got nothing from it, just split push. They're going to get the bot lane turret,
Two inhibitors,
the mid lane inhibitor. It should, as you mentioned, be at least 2 inhibitor turrets, and with Snowflower and Ixu still dead, 2 inhibitors cleanly for Jin Air.
Yeah, 15 seconds here on Ixu. Not sure if they're going to stick around for much more. Looks like Jin Air are going to back off. Their 4th dragon spawning in 45 seconds. I'm sure they wouldn't be ready for that one. Welcome it back into this world and then swiftly take it out.
Again, the call from Afreeca is fine. They do go for the initial. It's a guaranteed 5v4. It's just the execution from Ixu in particular. You need to hit that bounce. He didn't have flash up, and that was the only thing that stopped it being 100% someone either blowing flash or being bounced into the team. Not getting that bounce meant that everyone kited back into Baron buff as Zia damage, and they were ripped apart.
Ripped apart is a good way to put it.
It's a Rylai's National's Tooth, Void Staff, Abyssal Scepter, Azir with Baron buff. He deleted all their health bars, and another one of the reasons why Azir's back in the meta, safe laner, control mage, he does so much consistent damage, and consistent damage is one of the ways to deal with tanky frontliners.
Yep. No wave clear, still holding out for the side of the Freaks, not going to lose that tower in the top side quite just yet, but Jin Air have all the time in the world, more than happy to just stick around up top, clear out these waves as they come in and wait for the super creeps to push in. Looks like Lyra going to go on a little bit of a secret mission, hop over the wall and take away the dragon. Will be 3rd, so they'll at least match that objective and deny the 4th away, but without the Nidalee there, now see, he's just going to have to recall straight back in, perhaps.
There is a soloing dragon for some reason.
He does go for it, but the waves are getting ready to crash. They're going to have to peel into the mid and bottom sides, and they're just going to lose this tower without the Nidalee.
Really not sure this is the time to solo dragon.
You're getting 3rd dragon to deny 4th. It's not worth it at this point. You have to be with your team to try to defend these waves.
Will Jin Air just go for a turret dive? They know for sure Nidalee's not there.
They're like, okay, well, we have a couple seconds before the Nidalee's here. Waves coming into the bot side and the mid. We'll just take your turret.
Push it up, they get some damage. Remember, none of this would have happened if Nidalee was there, because the minion wave wouldn't have been able to crash so slowly.
Yep. Now turret just getting whittled away. Nidalee not going to be able to deal with these super creeps as effectively as he saw you taking a hell of a lot of damage.
God. That damage.
Yep, that damage. Ixu goes in, gets a body slam on the Pilot, has to burn the flash to try to find it. Snowflower, meanwhile, obviously All-Star ultimate almost falls. They get a bit of damage onto Wing, but that's still going to be the opening here for Pilot to push forward, take down the tower. Shay taking a lot as well, but Ixu looking like he's going to be the first one to fall here. The Wild Growth, not enough to keep him alive, and Trace finds the kill. They're at the backside. Nice collateral damage by Wing, flies straight and true. They take him down. A double kill for both Wing and Trace, and it's looking like it's going to be the ace. Trace going to go down in the fountain, but they get the ace. Afreeca Freecs, uncharacteristically going to fall 0-2 to Jin Air in the first set of playoff games here, and Jin Air looking alive, looking strong, coming out swinging in the first round of playoffs.
Yeah, this series provided the decisive 2-0 we expected, but who would have bet on the Jin Air Green Wings? This team always seems to have a gauntlet buff. They almost ran the gauntlet back in summer last season, and this season, they start the gauntlet just with renewed vigor. This team looked at their deficiencies, a team that was very poor at playing around the new double TP meta. Game 1, they went for an Azir comp. They fell behind, but were kind of given the lifeline back into the game and just played solid from there. Game 2, they ran the double teleport. They made good teleport plays. They were never caught out. Their warding improved. We didn't see Trace overextending and dying randomly. They played solidly, and Afreeca Freecs, you have to say, capitulated under the playoff pressure.
Yeah, that was very concise and decisive play there by the side of Jin Air. Green Wings and Afreeca just completely faltering under the pressure of playoffs, not looking like the team that we expected them to be coming into this matchup, and ultimately failing for it. Rough stuff.
It's disappointing. I was really excited to see Afreeca versus SKT, and the next time I just felt like Afreeca really shaped up to be more competition for SKT, but clearly that's not the answer, and we have to remember that Jin Air did famously beat SKT 2-0 first up in the first week of the season. Now, are they going to actually be food for SKT, or are they going to be competition? that much I'm still going to give the big advantage to SKT, but Jin Air at least have answered a lot of my criticisms of them, played a lot more solid, and if they can keep taking the game to late, if they can keep playing solid and just correcting the sort of problems that really faced them in the past 4 series, who's to say it won't be, at least to some degree, competitive?
Yeah. Rough way to go out for Afreeca Freecs. A 2-0 for Jin Air to net them the win and move on to face SK Telecom. But Afreeca, you still have to be happy in the end. Had a wonderful tear of games, a big streak, getting them into the playoffs when no one thought that they were even in contention for it. And this is a team that we're going to have to keep our eyes on as we move forward into the second round, because they just look better and better, this set aside. Your MVP, however, from the second game is Pilot with a deathless game on the Lucian, 7-0-4, 84% kill contribution as well.
And moving to the standard meta carries seemed to have been the tonic for Pilot to increase his performance. He was really trying things with the Rage Blades and all other sort of craziness on the Ashe, but he goes to the Escape AD guys, goes to the meta AD guys, the likes of the Lucian. His performance in both games on Lucian was very reliable, did exactly what he needed to do. But in this game, he was just the big benefactor of having a strong, reliable front line. This game was more about having Maokai in the front line than it was really about whatever champion Pilot was playing, but his cleanup was good to see.
Yeah, good positioning throughout these team fights, keeping himself safe and aggressing when he knew that it was safe. He knew his limitations on this Lucian. It wasn't like him on this Ashe where he was getting caught, having that odd build path, not able to actually output damage. In this fight, he just knew his limits and played to them quite well. Good dash away to get him away from that cask as well. So Pilot playing like you would expect Monte Cristo's favorite AD carry to play.
And this was, of course, the 4v5, winged nowhere in the fight, but a free 2-0 onto both of the frontliners of Afreeca for Jin Air, and game ends from this last push. Pilot was solid. Jin Air in general looked more like round 1 Jin Air, and Afreeca also did their game of musical chairs, and it was back to round 1 Afreeca for the Freaks.
Yeah, still good decision making. You know, throughout the beginning of this game, it was solid, but fortunately in the end, it did not pay off for them, and Jin Air just able to net themselves that swift victory. And now I believe we're going to have an interview with the entirety of the Jin Air Green Wings for their first win here in playoffs in the wildcard match. So we will throw over to Robin for the translation. Robin, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, Papa Smithy and Achilles, for yet another great cast on the day. And we're going to be heading to the MVP interview booth with all 5 members of the victorious Jin Air Green Wings team. Let's introduce them into the booth. Congratulations, gentlemen. Well, first of all, let's talk to Trace. Jin Air defeated Afreeca and is going to be moving on to face SKT. How does it feel? Well, a match like today is the kind of performance that I expected from us in the second round of the spring split. But I'm just glad that we have been performing now, even though it is a little bit late. So Trace, and early on in the season, you made a statement that you were going to stay on the team. Was this maybe a big picture that you were drawing for yourself? Well, I guess it just kind of happened to be, you know? I didn't really expect us to do so well, but we've been doing pretty good. And I think it acts as a catalyst for me to try even harder later. Early on in the season, you were pretty much pitching a tent here in the MVP booth, as you were one of the most frequent visitors. Are you maybe a little disappointed that you stopped showing up here? Well, I didn't think we were going to lose so many matches in the second round, and yeah, I guess I am kind of disappointed. You have been on Jin Air for a long time, and you yourself, in your words, said Jin Air is a team that's very mysterious. What do you really mean by this? I think our team always does 50-50, even if we go against strong teams or weak teams. So yeah, that's why I said it was mysterious. But yeah, I think we are definitely becoming stronger as the season progresses. Well, finally, to all the young ones on the team, as the eldest member, do you have anything else to say? Well, I am getting older, you know, getting a little slower. My knee's weak. So hopefully you guys can keep driving this bus and carrying me along. Next up is Winged. So Winged. Your opponent today was Lira, who maybe did not open his eyes today. Wow, that sounded racist. How would you prepare for this matchup? I think I played a little defensively so far, and I practiced a lot trying to overcome that weakness. And right now, jungle is one of the most important positions. So I'm trying really, really hard for my team, along with trying to improve my individual mechanics and pathing. This season, you have been labeled Mr. Brazilian Smite. How did it feel to receive the spotlight? Well, it wasn't bad. I definitely think it was pretty good. And it just means that I steal Barons and Dragons well. And against SKT, hopefully I'll be able to grab a steal right under their noses. Even today, you stole a Baron. Whenever you fight in front of an objective, you never seem to lose your patience. How do you do this? I think, as you said, being patient is important. You need to be really focused on calculating which skill shots from the opponents are left and which cooldowns are left. And yeah, I think that's my secret. In an interview with the coaches today, your coach today said that when people don't think Jin are going to win, they do win. Well, I guess when people are expecting us to win, it does put pressure on us, and hopefully our fans won't be asking us and thinking that we would win the matches, so that we can just feel a little more comfortable, I guess. Hopefully you have something to say to the coaches today. Do you have anything to say? When we were on a losing streak, I think I played very poorly during those times, and our coaches were pretty worried about me. And I think I recovered, so hopefully they can stop criticizing me too much. And there's Coach Han right there on the camera. Moving on to Kuzan. Congratulations. Today you received MVP as Rise in the first game. How does it feel to take the first MVP of the playoff season? Well, I guess it feels great to win against Afreeca. And I didn't really practice Rise that much. And yeah, Rise basically worked out for us. So this was your first Rise play ever, and you received an MVP. Was it maybe a pocket pick? Well, I was hoping that they would ban Rise. I played a couple games solo queue on Rise, but it wasn't as good as I thought it would be in solo queue. But today it turned out very well, so I think that's why I got the MVP. Jin is definitely different than last year. What do you think changed from last year to make you guys perform so well? Well, first of all, I think after GBM left our team, I've been practicing as the main seed, the starter, and I think that's why I've been playing very well. And there he is, Mr. GBM.
NRG GBM in the house. With his cook out there.
With his coach.
Shameless plug. Whenever people said Jin Air, they immediately thought long games. What do you think is the reason that the games were so quick today? Well, usually we try to play really slowly, but Afreeca was trying to accelerate the game today, and we were playing in reaction to that. Also, our pace increased, so I think that's why the games were very quick. As you've seen on camera just now, the former mid laner of Jin Air, GBM, is here. Do you have anything to say to him? Oh, me? Well, GBM, you seem to be having a rough time abroad, but don't worry about Jin Air, because I am now the new mid laner. Out with the old bag, in with the new. Finally, we have... No, that's not finally. We have Pilot next up.
Finally, we have Pilot. We're excited.
Hooray!
It's been a while since we've had an interview with you. How does it feel to be in the booth once again? Well, in the regular season, I played fairly poorly, and I practiced really, really hard for the playoffs, and I'm glad that my practice has shown results. All three of historic Jin Air pentakills, all pentakills on Jin Air, belong to you, all three of them. Why do you think you get pentakills all the time? Well, the pentakills I got, I don't think it's because I dealt damage well or positioned well, but that my teammates kind of, prepared the meal for me, and I just went in and took the pentas. So yeah, I'm thankful for my teammates. Can we maybe expect a pentakill in the playoffs? Well, for now, my team has to support me in order for me to get a pentakill, but I don't know, man. I just hope we win. I don't really care about pentas right now.
Probably for the best.
Maybe your goals are changing every day as you're going into playoffs. What is your next goal, Pilot? Well, speaking of goals, I think I want to reach the highest seed possible and maybe go to the finals. I think that's my goal right now. After Captain Jack left the team, you stated in an interview that you feel very responsible. Do you have anything to say to Captain Jack, the traitor? In the summer season, we'll face against Longzhu, and we're gonna beat the crap out of you guys in both rounds. So be ready. Now, finally, for real this time, it's Che.
Finally, it's Che.
Today's wildcard match against Afreeca. You must have been worried since the Freaks have been on such a streak. How did you prepare for this match? We didn't really have that much time due to the schedules, and we tried to reduce all our mistakes in practices. You have a very, very high win rate with Trundle, 7-2. Is there a reason that your win rate is so high on Trundle? Well, as long as you position your pillars very well, then he's a champion that you can utilize for easy wins, I guess. And I played very well, and I didn't really get many MVPs that I think maybe I deserve. I was pretty damn good, you know?
A lot of sports have really high KDAs and win rates in that Trundle.
It seems you're very vocal about your own performance today. So in the second game, Trundle was banned. When they banned Trundle, I was like, they banned it because I'm too good, man. Next up against you is SKT. How confident are you to face off against the laning phase against Wolf and Bang? I think we'll go 50-50. Maybe differentials may occur based on picks. And Bang said in an interview that he doesn't care whoever shows up. And it's the same for us, you know? We don't give a crap about who we're facing because we're gonna go to the finals.
I like it. I like this Che guy.
Yeah.
Last question. Any words against SKT? We defeated Afreeca and stopped their consecutive win streak. And hopefully we can set foot on the final stage. That appears to be it for the interviews. Back to you guys to wrap up the day.
Thank you very much, Robin, for the translation, as always. But yeah, strong words coming out there. You know, we don't give a hoot about USK Telecom. We're gonna beat you into the ground and go on to the finals. We'll see if they're able to do that. In a couple days, though, if you guys joined us a little bit late, of course, to recap, a very swift 2-0 here for Jin Air Green Wings. closing us out in just about 2.5 hours. It's only 8:30, Papa Smithy. This is one of the earliest nights that we've had. You see, though, Jin Air, of course, after taking down the Freaks and ending their win streak, will go ahead and move on to face SK Telecom T1 on Friday. So no games tomorrow. We'll be coming back on Friday, then we're on Saturday, and then we have a little bit of a break, and we come back on the 23rd.
That's right. So once again, 6 p.m. Korean Standard Time, 1 hour late than the usual Champions regular season days.
Sorry
on
for
Friday and Saturday.
North Americans, making it a little bit more difficult for you guys to tune in, as unfortunate as that is. But there you go. We will be moving to a best-of-5 setup come that next matchup. No more best-of-3s from here on out. All BF5s coming up. And just, wow, what a great game from Jin Air and Afreeca. Unfortunately, that's where the end of the line is. But as we heard in the interviews at the beginning of the stream, Jin Air, coach not really going to have to console them, going to have to congratulate them and then work on getting ready to face SK Telecom because they only have a day to really prepare for that.
Still a really successful season, you have to say, for the Freaks. You know, to finish 5th overall.
Absolutely.
Okay, they're going to have to really step up their playoff performances in the future, but to come from 1-6 to finish 10-8, to finish 5th, to get some points towards the World Championships, it's still a good season for them.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing those guys in the next split. But of course, Jin Air coming up tomorrow, or 2 days from now, going up against SK Telecom T1. We'll see you guys then.